This evening we are together here in The Hague because the Water Integrity Network is launching the Water Integrity Global Outlook 2016, which is a big report talking about water integrity and corruption in the water sector. Huge amounts of money are invested in the water sector annually, and the estimates are that 10% of these disappear because of corruption, which means that annually we would lose an amount of circa 75 billion euros. Which means that the infrastructure which should be built for this money, which should benefit the poor in the world to a large extent, disappear into the pockets of the people who are involved there.
Yeah, in my opinion, corruption can be a problem in the water sector because there's a lot of money going on and public and private parties meet each other, so you have to be alert on it.
But it is clear that the issue of integrity, the issue of corruption is basically essential to achieve any single of these SDGs. Because if you support programs, for example, in the water sector, but the funds you allocate for these projects are not used well, basically you will never achieve your targets. So that's why we have, first of all, we have an absolute zero tolerance policy in terms of corruption, in terms of bad governance. So as soon as we have an indication that there is a misuse of funding, we immediately stop the entire project.
Many countries are facing with an increased scarcity of water resources, making it more difficult to meet the demands of water in countries. And if you couple that to an economic development that often requires people to look for additional sources of income in addition to what they regularly get, then you create a situation where bribery is more likely to happen.
I have been doing value for money in quite a couple of countries, and the value for money studies do show that it's almost impossible to link the money flows with the services being provided with the number of people. And while we are not able to link these three, we can actually not understand the size of the problem, but I do have evidence that the size of the problem is quite large.
In WASH programs, in water and sanitation programs, there is a clause stipulating that the people implementing these programs have to guarantee that in 10 years from now, from the implementation of the program, they will still be functioning. And otherwise they have to repay the money. So in that sense, I found it quite surprising to hear that projects are still today, 30, 40 years after we started our development programs, that still projects are being implemented without carefully looking at sustainability. I must say I find it quite shocking almost. So in that sense, we are very intrigued by this report. We'll definitely read it very carefully.
Corruption is inherent in water service, I think, and we experienced a lot of that when I was working at the state, and I think that the message that I took away from the talk today is that transparency and publicity only helps shine a light in corruption. And I think that the more opportunities that normal people have to see where the money is flowing, the more accountable people will feel.
I think donors should have the checks and balances for the normal audits, the normal financial audits, but we have to go one step further. We actually need to do much more in-depth value for money studies to make sure that the services that money is supposed to provide are actually reaching the people that they are supposed to provide. And we cannot think it's okay that some of these systems fail and stop working after 2 years, after 5 months, as many I've seen. And so in that sense, I do like very much the sustainability checks that the Dutch government is putting forward in some of their contracts.
In the Water Integrity Outlook, we present the water integrity walls. These are meant to summarize a concept of how you can act against corruption in the water sector. The concept consists of 4 building blocks, and if you take these together, it summarizes the efforts you need to fight corruption. And the 4 building blocks of the water integrity walls are transparency, accountability of the officials involved, participation of the stakeholders, and dedicated anti-corruption measures.